We need to talk about what the Boston Celtics just did to the Clippers. Coming into this game, the Clippers had been red hot, evolving into a top 5 defense in the league, making their way to the 6th seed in the Western Conference. But Boston did not care, as they put forward one of the best offensive games of the season with the return of Kristaps Porzingis, as they dominated the Clippers from start to finish, winning 126-94. But that final score perhaps doesn't even do it justice, as the real number is 51 points in the third term alone and 16 made threes by the half, as this game was well and truly over by halftime. But what was so impressive about this game is how the Clippers should have been one of the best teams on paper to guard this Celtics team, and they still got cooked. The Clippers arguably have the best collection of defensive wings in the NBA right now, with Derrick Jones Jr., Amir Coffey, Nicholas Batum, Terrence Mann, and Chris Dunn, who's one of the best perimeter defensive players in the league right now. But the Celtics still came out and put 78 on them in the first half. This is a game that Boston might not have won a couple years back, before they went all in on their three-point shooting and before they won the title. I feel like finally breaking through and winning that title has done so much for this team in terms of confidence. Not only to win hard games, but also for their belief in their overall system revolving around volume shooting, as it's allowed them to go all in this season. Their quote-unquote bad shooting nights still see them making 17 three-pointers in the game, which would have led the league only a decade ago. And when this Celtics team is having one of those big nights, they can hit 18 in a single half and put teams to bed very early. When everything's falling, I just don't know how you're going to be able to beat this team, as this team now knows exactly who they are and can generate their shots every game, no matter how the opposition is playing them. All 5 of their starters are more than capable three-point shooters, which is something you can't say about any other team in the NBA. Drew Holiday would be the worst out of the 5, but he's still making 35% from downtown, which is still solid. Tatum and Brown can go off at any given night, like in the game against the Wolves, where Jaylen Brown started 5 of 5 from deep, getting the first 15 points for the Celtics. Even though the percentages for these guys aren't elite, for example, Jaylen Brown is a 33% three-point shooter and Tatum shoots just 37%, it's the fact that the Celtics are trying to destroy you from deep, which leads to some shots that they probably shouldn't be taking. If they cut down on some of these shots where they're like tough step back deep threes, or triples where they're just heavily contested, that have a much better percentage. Right now, the Cavs lead the NBA for three-point shooting, making 41% as a team on average. And for the Celtics, they currently make 37% from deep, which sees them 10th for effectiveness. However, it's these three-point shots that arguably sets up their downhill game, as with teams constantly trying to run Boston off the line, it makes it so hard to stop when they all of a sudden start attacking downhill, as the paint is normally wide open. We see Boston do this a lot down the stretches of games when they really need buckets, and it works almost every time. It's so important to remember that Boston aren't just a three-point shooting team, as they have so many guys who can beat you off the dribble, in isolation, and of course, they can beat you with their drive and kick game, forcing defenses to have to make almost impossible recoveries. Whatever the opponent wants to force Boston to do, they're more than happy to do it, as the NBA is yet to find a way to really limit this team from getting the shots they want. Boston can very easily get into their drive and kick game against basically anybody, allowing them to get up their volume threes every game. Last season, the Celtics were also leading the league in three-point shooting, attempting 42 threes per game. And this season, Boston lead the NBA with 50 a game, which is a giant leap, and it perfectly illustrates how much they're going even deeper into their three-point shooting this season. In fact, the Celtics already have 7 games this season with at least 20 threes made, compared to last season where they led the league with 15 games of 20-plus triples over the course of the entire season. We're only 18 games into the season, and Boston already have half as many 23-point games that they had the entirety of last season. It feels like they're going to get 23s in a game every second game and completely dominate teams from deep. As just look at this Clippers game, as they outscored them by 45 points from beyond the arc. So good luck trying to compete with this team when they're seemingly not missing from deep. And what makes it even harder is it's not just one guy who can't miss, but it's all 5. So if you think you're going to go to the paint or the mid-range against Boston, think again, as it takes 2 made shots for you to get what Boston will get with 1 made triple. So it's almost like you're running the wrong way up an escalator while the Celtics are going up the right way, as it's a near impossible battle to win when they're making shots. But any team can just chuck up threes. And the Celtics do that occasionally, but the majority of them comes from looks like these. Here, it's Drew Holiday who draws the attention of James Harden and Derrick Jones Jr., leaving Peyton Pritchard open for three in the far corner. Here, Cater sets a down screen for Sam Hauser, who springs open for a triple. Then it's a very similar play, as Cater's got the ball this time and hands it off to Hauser, who makes another. Now out in transition, it's Jaylen Brown, who makes the hit-ahead pass for Pritchard, who knocks down another. Here, it's a simple ball screen with Cater and Brown, and because Zubac is in drop coverage, JB walks into a triple. Now off an inbounds, the Clippers have a breakdown, as Batum's far too deep, leading to a quick swing, finding Derek White open for three. But even when you play them well, like Zubac does here, it isn't over, as Holiday cuts back door and hits JB, who makes the corner three. Now with a mismatch, JT goes to work, forcing the Clippers to send help, and that gives JB enough space to knock down another. The second you start over helping against Boston is the same second the game will slip away, as the Celtics are just so good at attacking mismatches to find open shooters. The shot chart from that Clippers game was almost unbelievable. Every made field goal either came from deep or at the basket. The Celtics have gotten so good at playing what they call Missoula ball, which is basically just trying to generate either threes or layups and dunks. I don't think we'll see another shot chart like this for the rest of the season from anybody but the Celtics. And I don't even think they'll do it again because of the mid-range shooting ability that this team still has, with Porzingis with his post-ups and Tatum and Brown who can hit their turnaround middies. And oftentimes when the three-pointers aren't falling, Boston can go to their mid-range jump shooters. In the second half against the Wolves, we saw this ability to change up the way they're playing in the middle of a game and punish a defense, as Boston started getting into the post with their bigger wings, which allowed them to get into the paint. Tatum and Brown were the guys in the post, but now that KP's back, that's going to be his role within the offense. If a smaller guy gets switched on to Porzingis, he'll just take you to the block and shoot right over the top of the defense every single time. Porzingis was the most effective post-up player in the NBA last season, and this serves the Celtics perfectly. When the three-point game isn't working, they can go to KP down low to keep the scoreboard ticking over, giving them a solid backup plan. But it's not just on offense where KP makes the biggest difference, as that's arguably with his defense. So far this season, the Celtics paint defense hasn't been anywhere close to what it was last season, allowing teams to easily score on them in the paint. The added rim protection that Kristaps Porzingis brings shores up that defense, as all of a sudden Boston aren't giving up easy rim runs, as their 7th ranked defense in the NBA is about to get even better, which will perfectly complement their 3rd ranked offense. With a top 5 defense and offense, the Celtics are one of the best all-round teams in the NBA right now. Now with Porzingis back, the question mark surrounding their big man depth has also been answered, as right now it's Porzingis, Horford, Cater, and Cornette, who's probably not going to play now. Not having KP for the first month of the season was a blessing in disguise, as they were able to give Cater solid minutes and they found a great backup big. Along with finding a great backup big with Cater, their bench rotations overall are now looking much better, and they even have some guys who won't be in the rotation that will be able to step in if someone gets hurt. This team virtually has no weaknesses, especially now with Kristaps Porzingis back in the lineup, as they're just so good at everything, making them the team to beat in the East right now, and for me, the clear best team in the NBA. But that's just my take. The Boston Celtics are the juggernauts of the NBA right now, but are they beatable in a 7-game series? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments section below.